Mercedes-Benz is credited as building the very first car over 130 years ago. Here in 2021, however, they've been noticeably absent among legitimate electric vehicles. That all changes with the introduction of the 2022 Mercedes-Benz EQS, which I've just been to Germany and Switzerland to drive. Before we get into this first drive, do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button below, and head on over to edmunds.com/sellmycar to get a cash offer on your vehicle. The EQ name is new for Mercedes, but we'll be seeing a lot more of it in coming years. The EQS is the electric equivalent to the stately S-Class sedan. We expect a few SUVs to follow later. Think of it as the GLA and GLE equivalents, which will be called the EQA and EQE. Makes sense, right? The EQS goes on sale this fall in the US and will be available in two versions. The EQS 450 Plus is the extended range model, while the EQS 580 4MATIC is the dual motor all-wheel drive version. Prices have not yet been announced, but it's a safe bet that they'll be placed above the $100,000 mark. That puts it up there with the Tesla Model S and Porsche Taycan. The EQS 450 Plus has a single motor driving the rear wheels, with a power output of 329 horsepower and 419 pound-feet of torque. Mercedes estimates it'll reach 60 miles an hour in 5.9 seconds and have a range of 484 miles on a full charge. That range figure is based on the European testing standard. We expect the figure to be adjusted down a bit when the EPA gets around to evaluating it. But even if it drops way down to 400 miles, that's an impressive distance that'll rival the Model S long range and handily beat the Taycan. The 580 4MATIC has a second motor driving the front wheels for a combined output of 516 horsepower and 631 pound-feet. Mercedes says it'll reach 60 miles an hour in only 4.1 seconds. That's blisteringly quick, but still slower than the Model S and Taycan. Range estimates for that all-wheel drive model start around 420-ish, but also based on the European model. Expect that to drop just a bit. Both have identical 108 kilowatt-hour battery packs. The EQS is DC fast charge capable. Mercedes claims you can get from 10% to 80% charge as quick as 31 minutes. On more common level 2 units, it should take just over 11 hours to get the same charge. Those times are longer than the Taycan or Model S, but not enough to really impact your life. Now, even though this EQS isn't as fast as the Porsche or the Tesla, it's still plenty fast. And it accelerates with authority, like a good shove. It's also eerily graceful. On some of the smoother Swiss roads here, I almost have the sensation it's floating above right until I hit a rut or a bump. But even when I hit those, you only get a dull thud, and it's heard more than felt. Now, these EQSs come standard with the Airmatic and adaptive suspension, and that's definitely helping. The Airmatic suspension replaces conventional springs with air chambers for a smoother ride and keeps the body nice and level. The adaptive suspension allows you to choose between a softer, more comfortable ride or stiffen them up for better handling performance. As far as braking goes, well, the brake pedal is a little soft, but it seems appropriate for a big luxury sedan like this. I would expect that the AMG version would have a slightly stiffer pedal. And when it comes to handling, it inspires confidence. It's still a big sedan and heavy, but you don't really feel that weight because it's mostly all on the floor. And you don't want to go blasting through corners like you're in a sports car, but you have the confidence that it'll navigate some sharper turns with absolutely no problem. That's because each EQS comes standard with rear wheel steering. When you need to make a really sharp turn at lower speeds, the rear wheels will turn in opposite direction of the front wheels by as much as 10 degrees, allowing this big sedan to maneuver much like a smaller car. Body roll is really well managed. It just feels solid on the road. You might also notice how quiet it is in here. It's really impressive how much they've dialed out road and wind noise. And there's absolutely no creaks or squeaks on the interior. Helping with sound abatement is insulated windows for sound and for heat. As with a lot of EVs, they have repurposed the shifter paddles on the steering wheel to serve a similar function for brake regeneration. If you hold the upshift paddle for a few seconds, you can access the highest regeneration level that allows you to drive
without ever hardly touching the brakes. It's called one-pedal driving, and many EV drivers love it enough to never want to go back. On top of that, with more regeneration, you replenish the battery more and get further on a charge.
Let's talk about seat comfort. It's a Mercedes. It's an S-Class. It's really good. There's tons of adjustments. These are the multi-contour seats, so you can also get a massage. Plus they're heated and ventilated, and they work really well. You always get that sense of spaciousness in an S-Class, and this EQS is no different. And it's also enhanced by this massive panoramic sunroof that really opens up the interior. Despite that tapering roofline, there is a good amount of space for adults in the back. I'm 5'10" and I fit back there with room to spare. The large roof pillars in the back do make it seem a little less spacious, at least compared to the front. In the back seats, there will be an executive rear seat option, but the 4-seat option will not be available. So that means you will not get that massive center console that you'd see in the S-Class. And oddly enough, there's no frunk. But when you see the size of the trunk, you might realize that you don't really need a frunk. As an S-Class also, materials quality is impeccable. Really, at this level, if you want to beat it, you're going to have to spend about $250,000 to get a Bentley. And even then, it's not that much of a difference. Right here, I have this lovely, huge bin. Has 2 cup holders and a rubberized charging pad. And you also have the usual under bin storage here. Overall, you've got plenty of spaces for your personal effects. Not a problem at all. And again, going back to the materials quality, you kind of just enjoy running your hand over all the surfaces. I mean, they're pleasing to the touch. You have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but with the Mercedes MBUX system, you might not be using it nearly as much. It's easy to use. You have different modes of use. And of course, this hyper screen dash is striking. I mean, it's a big, huge piece of glass with 3 distinct screens in it. The hyperscreen adds a 3rd display just for the front passenger and gives them the ability to control things like audio and navigation. Once they find a destination, all they have to do is swipe it over to the center screen. There is a very slight drawback though, and it's the constant shifting reflections over that huge glass. It could be a little distracting at first, but you get used to it fairly quickly. Unlike a lot of other screen-only systems, this one's pretty easy to use. A lot of that has to do with the size of the buttons that they put on the screen, but also it's in a good position. I like my screens kind of on top of the dash, but here it's fine. And also this head-up display in front of me has a ton of information that really helps when I'm trying to get from point A to B in Switzerland, where I don't know any of the roads. Also standard is the Burmester sound system, which is one of my favorites in any car. In a really quiet luxury sedan like this, it really brings out all of the nuances in that system. Really good punchy bass and extraordinarily clear highs, and it doesn't fall apart at louder volumes either. Other cool technology add-ons are toll pay, which is integrated into the system so you don't have to fumble for your wallet or purse. Just like the S-Class, this has a fingerprint sensor right here, so you can save all of your profiles for the infotainment and seat and navigation. So if someone else drives your car, all you have to do is tap your finger on that and it'll reset everything to your preference. Another cool feature are the available power open and close doors. So when you get in the car, you just kind of give the handle a gentle tug and it'll open it itself the rest of the way. Once you get seated in the driver's seat, to close the door, all you have to do is put your foot on the brake and it'll close automatically. In other tech-related items, Mercedes plans to introduce the Drive Pilot Level 3 autonomous system this year in Germany, and rather optimistically in the US in the next 2 years. It's a truly hands-free system that takes over all driving duties up to about 37 miles an hour. It has a lot more sensors, including a LiDAR sensor up front, and more and enhanced cameras. No, you can't fall asleep or jump in the back seats while it's operating.
As a driver, you still need to be present and ready to take over if conditions dictate. There's also an advanced automated parking system that goes well beyond anything we've seen before. Like a few other cars, it can parallel or perpendicular park into a tight space and be remote parked in even tighter spots. It goes further with a memory function that can expertly navigate up complicated driveways or into areas with a lot of obstructions. Imagine having that when you were a teen driver. It should be very clear that I really love the Mercedes EQS, more than the Tesla Model S or Taycan. Let me count the ways. It's more comfortable than either of them, especially the Tesla. The seats are super cushy, the ride quality is glassy smooth. Sure, it doesn't have the crazy acceleration of either, but do we really need that anymore? 4.1 seconds should be plenty for anyone, especially in a huge sedan like this. This is a very promising start for the EQ for Mercedes, and I can't wait to see how it performs when we get it back here for a full evaluation. In the meantime, hit like and subscribe below, and don't forget to head over to Edmunds.com for all the latest info, specs, and news on the EQS and all of its competition.